The moment her bikini slipped, time froze. I could have looked away, should have looked away. But when she said softly, "You don't have to look away," everything changed. If you've ever had that one moment that completely transformed your life, stick around. By the end of this story, you'll understand why thousands have found themselves hitting that subscribe button and sharing this journey with others who needed to hear it too. The morning sun filtered through the blinds of my cramped apartment as I fumbled with my tie. 3 years as a single dad had taught me many things, but perfecting a Windsor knot wasn't one of them. My daughter Lily giggled from the doorway, her school uniform already neatly in place. "Dad, you're hopeless," she said, approaching me with the confidence of someone 5 times her 8 years. Her small fingers worked the silk with practiced precision. "Mom taught me before she left." The casual way she mentioned her mother still felt like a knife between my ribs. Sarah had walked out when Lily was 5, deciding family life wasn't for her after all. The divorce papers had cited irreconcilable differences, but the truth was simpler and more painful. She'd found someone else, someone without the baggage of a child and a mortgage. "Thanks, pumpkin," I said, kneeling to kiss her forehead. "What would I do without you?" "Probably wear clip-on ties," she replied with a smirk that was pure Sarah. After dropping Lily at school, I drove to Meridian Publishing, where I'd worked as a mid-level editor for the past 7 years. The company had been my salvation after Sarah left, offering flexibility when I needed it most. My boss, Victoria Chen, had been particularly understanding, though her reputation for ruthless efficiency had earned her the nickname Ice Queen among the staff. Victoria had taken over as editorial director just 6 months ago, and the department had been in a constant state of upheaval ever since. Rumors of layoffs swirled through the break room like autumn leaves, and I lived in perpetual fear that my name would be on the chopping block. Single parenthood didn't leave much room for unemployment. That morning, Victoria called me into her office, her expression unreadable behind sleek glasses. "James," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I've been reviewing the department's performance metrics." My stomach dropped. This was it, the conversation I'd been dreading. "The company retreat is this weekend," she continued, surprising me. "I know you usually opt out because of your daughter, but I need my senior team there." "All of them?" I blinked. "Senior team?" Victoria slid a folder across the desk. "Congratulations on your promotion to senior editor. The paperwork is all here, including a substantial raise. But it comes with expectations, including full participation in company events." My mind raced. The promotion was a godsend. The raise would mean I could finally move us to a better apartment, maybe even start a college fund for Lily. But the retreat was 3 days at a beachside resort, and my regular babysitter was visiting family that weekend. "I appreciate the opportunity," I said carefully, "but I'm not sure I can arrange childcare on such short notice." Victoria removed her glasses, revealing dark eyes that seemed less cold than I'd expected. "The retreat is family-friendly. Bring your daughter." I left her office in a daze, clutching the folder to my chest like a life preserver. That night, I explained the situation to Lily over dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets. "A beach resort?" Her eyes widened with excitement. "With a pool and everything?" "And the ocean," I confirmed. "But I'll be in meetings most of the time." Lily shrugged. "I can read by the pool. I'm not a baby, Dad." Sometimes her maturity broke my heart. While other kids her age were carefree, Lily had been forced to grow up too quickly. I promised myself that this weekend would be different. I'd find a way to give her the childhood fun she deserved. The resort was more luxurious than anywhere we'd stayed since Sarah left. Lily pressed her face against the car window as we pulled up to the palm-lined entrance, her breath fogging the glass. "It looks like a castle," she whispered. The first day was filled with team-building exercises and strategic planning sessions. I arranged for Lily to join the resort's kids club, but guilt gnawed at me as I sat through PowerPoint presentations while imagining her alone among strangers. During the lunch break, I escaped to check on her. To my surprise, I found her by the pool, deep in conversation with Victoria Chen, of all people. My boss sat on the edge of a lounge chair, still in her business attire despite the heat, nodding seriously as Lily explained something with animated gestures. "Dad!" Lily waved when she spotted me. "Ms. Chen knows all about Harry Potter. She says Ravenclaw is underrated, just like I always tell you." Victoria looked up, a hint of embarrassment crossing her features. "Your daughter is quite the literary critic, James. She's been giving me excellent recommendations." I stood there, momentarily speechless at the sight of the infamous Ice Queen chatting amiably with my 8-year-old. "The kids' club was boring," Lily explained. "They were just coloring, and I finished my book, so Miss Chen said I could sit with her while she reviewed some manuscripts." Victoria rose, smoothing her skirt. "I hope that was all right. She's remarkably well behaved." "Of course," I said, still processing this unexpected alliance. "Thank you for keeping an eye on her." "My pleasure." Victoria checked her watch. "We should head back. The financial projections presentation starts in 10 minutes. That evening, after tucking Lily into bed with promises of beach time the next day, I joined the mandatory cocktail reception on the terrace. Victoria stood alone by the railing, gazing out at the moonlit ocean. Without her usual armor of blazers and structured dresses, in a simple black cocktail dress, she looked almost approachable. "She's a remarkable child," Victoria said as I joined her. "You've done well with her." "I'm trying," I admitted. "It hasn't been easy since her mother left." Victoria's expression softened. "My father raised me alone after my mother died. It shaped who I am, but not always in ways I'm proud of." This glimpse of vulnerability from the company's most formidable executive left me momentarily speechless. Before I could respond, she'd slipped back into professional mode, discussing the next day's agenda as if the moment of connection had never happened. The second day of the retreat featured free time in the afternoon, a transparent attempt to force colleagues to socialize outside the conference room. Most headed for the golf course, but I'd promised Lily the beach. We were building an elaborate sand castle when Victoria appeared, a large straw hat shading her face, a cover-up draped over what appeared to be a swimsuit. "Room for one more architect?" she asked, and Lily immediately scooted over, patting the sand beside her. To my astonishment, Victoria Chen, terror of the publishing world, knelt in the sand and began constructing a remarkably precise moat system. For an hour, the three of us worked together, laughing as waves threatened our creation. Victoria proved to have an unexpected talent for sand sculpture, crafting tiny gargoyles for our towers that made Lily squeal with delight. When Lily ran off to collect shells for decoration, Victoria stood, brushing sand from her knees. "I should cool off before the evening session. Care to join me for a swim?" Before I could answer, she'd slipped off her cover-up, revealing a modest black bikini that nonetheless showcased a figure usually hidden beneath corporate attire. She walked toward the water with confident strides, leaving me momentarily frozen. I glanced at Lily, happily occupied with her shell hunt, then followed Victoria into the sea. The water was cool and clear, waves gently breaking around us as we waded deeper. "You seem surprised," Victoria said, floating onto her back. "Did you think I was actually made of ice?" I laughed, relaxing slightly. The thought had crossed my mind. "You have a certain reputation at the office. Necessary, unfortunately." She dipped beneath a wave, emerging with her dark hair slicked back. Women in leadership positions aren't afforded the luxury of being seen as nice. As she turned to face the horizon, I noticed the tie of her bikini top had come loose. Without thinking, I moved closer. "Victoria, you're..." She glanced down just as the top slipped slightly, revealing more than she'd intended. I immediately averted my eyes, feeling my face grow hot despite the cool water. "You don't have to look away," she said softly. When I met her gaze, there was something vulnerable in her expression that I'd never seen before. She secured her top with practiced fingers, but maintained eye contact. "Most men would have looked," she said. Or worse, pretended not to while stealing glances. "I have a daughter," I replied simply. "I'm trying to be the kind of man I want her to respect." Victoria studied me for a long moment, water droplets clinging to her eyelashes. "That's why I promoted you, James. Not just because you're good at your job, but because you're good. Period. That's rarer than you might think." The moment was interrupted by Lily's distant call as she waved a particularly impressive shell in our direction. Victoria smiled, a genuine expression that transformed her face. "Your daughter's calling. You should go." That evening, after the formal dinner, I found myself unable to sleep. The conversation with Victoria kept replaying in my mind, along with the strange connection I'd felt between us. Around midnight, I slipped out onto the beach for some air, surprised to find Victoria already there, sitting alone in the moonlight. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked as I approached. I sat beside her on the sand, maintaining a respectful distance. "Too much on my mind." "Like what?" "Like how I've worked with you for years but never really known you until today." She drew patterns in the sand with her finger. "I don't let people know me, James. It's safer that way." "Safer from what?" Victoria was quiet for so long I thought she might not answer. "Disappointment. Abandonment. Take your pick." "I know something about that," I admitted. "When Sarah left, I built walls too. But Lily deserves better than a father who's afraid to live." "Is that why you haven't dated since the divorce?" I was startled by her knowledge of my personal life. "Partly. And partly because it's hard to meet someone when you're working full-time and parenting full-time. And partly because you're still hurt," she added softly. "Yes," I acknowledged. "That too." We talked for hours on that moonlit beach, sharing stories we'd never told anyone else. Victoria spoke of growing up with a father who worked 3 jobs to support her, of clawing her way through an industry that underestimated her at every turn. I told her about the day Sarah left, about learning to braid Lily's hair from YouTube tutorials, about the nights I cried in the shower so my daughter wouldn't hear. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in watercolor hues of pink and gold, Victoria stood. "We should get some sleep," she said. "There's still one day of the retreat left." I nodded, suddenly aware of how close we were standing. "Victoria, I..." She placed a finger gently against my lips. "Not yet. There's Lily to consider, and the company policies about managers dating employees. Let's not complicate things before we're sure." The wisdom in her words was undeniable, but as I watched her walk back toward the resort, I knew with certainty that something significant had shifted between us. The final day of the retreat passed in a blur of presentations and closing remarks. Victoria was once again the consummate professional, though I caught her smiling at Lily across the breakfast buffet. For her part, my daughter seemed to have developed a case of hero worship, peppering me with questions about Ms. Chen on our drive home. "Is she going to be your girlfriend?" Lily asked with the directness only children can manage. I nearly swerved off the road. "What makes you ask that?" Lily rolled her eyes with the exasperation of the perpetually underestimated. "Dad, I'm 8, not stupid. You look at her the way Prince Charming looks at Cinderella. It's complicated, pumpkin. Grown-ups always say that when they're scared," she observed, returning to her book with an air of supreme confidence. Back at work, Victoria maintained professional boundaries, though occasionally I'd catch her watching me during meetings with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. Weeks passed, and I began to wonder if our connection at the beach had been nothing more than a momentary lapse in her carefully constructed persona. Then came the night of the company's charity gala. I'd arranged for Lily to stay with a friend, donned my only decent suit, and was nursing a glass of champagne in the corner when Victoria appeared beside me. "You clean up well, James," she said, resplendent in a midnight blue gown. "As do you," I replied, suddenly tongue-tied like a teenager at his first dance. "I've been thinking," she continued, her voice low, "about what you said on the beach, about being afraid to live." My heart quickened. And I've spent my entire career being the ice queen because it was safer than being vulnerable. But I'm beginning to think that safety might be its own kind of prison. Before I could respond, we were interrupted by the CEO calling Victoria to the stage to present an award. I watched her transform into the confident executive everyone knew, delivering a flawless speech that had the audience captivated. Later, as the evening wound down, she found me again. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, an uncharacteristic nervousness in her voice. "I've accepted a position as publishing director at our parent company's London office." The news hit me like a physical blow. "London? When do you leave?" 3 weeks. She twisted her hands together. "It's the opportunity of a lifetime, one I've worked toward for years." I forced a smile. "Congratulations. You deserve it." "That's not all," Victoria continued. "The position comes with the authority to establish a new transatlantic editorial team. I need a senior managing editor I can trust implicitly, someone who understands both the creative and business sides of publishing." I stared at her, comprehension dawning slowly. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a choice," she corrected. "A significant promotion with international travel and responsibilities, or your current position here with a new boss. I understand if you can't uproot Lily." "What about company policy?" I interrupted. "Managers dating employees?" A smile played at the corners of her mouth. "I've discussed the situation hypothetically with HR. If you were to accept the position, you'd report to the editorial board, not directly to me. There would be no conflict of interest." My mind raced with possibilities and complications. I'd need to talk to Lily. London is a big change. "Of course." Victoria hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth, the London office has an excellent family support program, including assistance with school placement and housing." The following weekend, I sat Lily down for what might have been the most important conversation of our lives. "How would you feel about moving to London?" I asked carefully. Her eyes widened. "Like in England? With the Queen and double-decker buses?" "There's a king now, but yes. Ms. Chen has offered me an important job there." Lily considered this with the seriousness of a Supreme Court justice. "Would we live near Ms. Chen?" "I'm not sure about the living arrangements yet." "But you'd see her a lot?" "And maybe I would too." I nodded, watching her face carefully. "We'd see her quite often, yes." Lily was quiet for a long moment, then asked, "Is Mom in London?" The question caught me off guard. Sarah had moved to California with her new husband years ago and rarely called. "No, sweetheart. Mom's still in San Francisco." "Good," Lily said firmly. "Because I think Ms. Chen would be a better mom anyway. She listens when I talk about books, and she doesn't think my questions are annoying." Tears pricked at my eyes. "Lily, I'm not saying Victoria would become your mom. We're just exploring possibilities." My daughter fixed me with a look of exasperation. "Dad, I've been waiting forever for you to find someone who makes you smile again." "Ms. Chen makes you smile. And she's super smart and pretty. If we have to move to London for you to figure that out, then I vote yes." 2 months later, Lily and I stood in Heathrow Airport, exhausted from the overnight flight but buzzing with excitement. Victoria had arranged for a car to take us to the short-term apartment the company had secured until we found permanent housing. To our surprise, Victoria herself was waiting at arrivals, holding a sign that read, "Parker Family," in elegant script. "You didn't have to come yourself," I said as she embraced us both. "Of course I did," she replied, kneeling to speak to Lily at eye level. "I wanted to be the first." I apologize for not completing the story. Let me continue from where I left off. Of course I did, she replied, kneeling to speak to Lily at eye level. I wanted to be the first to welcome you to your new home. Lily, overcoming her jet lag, threw her arms around Victoria's neck. I brought all my Harry Potter books so we can discuss them properly. Victoria laughed, a sound I was still getting used to hearing. I can't wait. And I have tickets for the Harry Potter studio tour next weekend, if you're interested. Lily's squeal of delight echoed through the terminal, drawing smiles from passing travelers. Our first weeks in London were a whirlwind of adjustment. The apartment Victoria had arranged was spacious and bright, overlooking a small park where Lily quickly made friends with local children. My new position challenged me professionally in ways I hadn't experienced in years, and I found myself thriving under the increased responsibility. Victoria maintained professional boundaries at work, but evenings and weekends saw the three of us exploring London together, visiting museums, picnicking in Hyde Park, discovering tiny bookshops in hidden corners of the city. Lily blossomed in Victoria's presence, soaking up her knowledge and attention like a flower turning toward the sun. One rainy Sunday afternoon, 3 months after our arrival, Victoria helped Lily with a school project while I prepared dinner. Watching them together, heads bent over a diorama of the Tower of London, I felt a completeness I hadn't experienced since before Sarah left, perhaps had never truly experienced at all. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Victoria and I sat on the balcony, sharing a bottle of wine as raindrops pattered against the awning. She asked me something today, Victoria said, her voice careful. Something I wasn't sure how to answer. My stomach tightened. What was it? She asked if I was going to be her new mom. Victoria's eyes met mine, uncertain for once. I told her that was a conversation she needed to have with you first. The moment stretched between us, heavy with possibility. And if I said I was open to the idea? I asked finally. Victoria set down her wine glass. Then I would say I've never wanted children of my own, never thought I had the capacity to be a mother. But Lily, she makes me want to try. And you, James, you make me believe I could succeed. I took her hand, feeling the slight tremor in her fingers. We've been taking things slowly for Lily's sake. But I think she's been ahead of us all along. Victoria smiled, the vulnerability I'd first glimpsed at the beach retreat now fully visible. She's extraordinarily perceptive. Must get that from her father. I love you, I said simply. I think I have since that moment in the ocean when you told me I didn't have to look away. Not because of what I saw, but because of what you let me see, the real you, beneath the armor. Victoria's eyes glistened in the dim light. I love you too. Both of you. More than I thought possible. 6 months later, we moved into a Victorian townhouse in Notting Hill, with a garden for Lily and a study for Victoria's rare first editions. The day after we unpacked the last box, I proposed on the rooftop terrace under a canopy of fairy lights, with Lily serving as my co-conspirator and ring-bearer. Our wedding was small and perfect, held in a centuries-old library with Lily as our maid of honor. Victoria's father flew in from Hong Kong, frail but determined to walk his daughter down the aisle. My parents came from Chicago, marveling at the transformation in their once-broken son. Sarah sent Lily a card from California, her first communication in nearly a year. I expected resentment or sadness, but Lily simply added it to her memory box with a shrug. I'm glad Mom's happy with her new family, she said. Just like I'm happy with ours. On our first anniversary, Victoria was named CEO of the publishing group, the youngest person and first woman to hold the position. That same week, the adoption papers came through, making official what had been true in our hearts for months: Victoria was now legally Lily's mother. Life wasn't perfect. Victoria worked long hours, I struggled with the pressure of my new role, and Lily faced the typical challenges of adolescence. We argued, compromised, and grew together, building something stronger than any of us could have created alone. 5 years after that fateful beach retreat, we returned to the same resort for a family vacation. Lily, now 13 and in the throes of teenage independence, still joined us for early morning walks along the shore, though she spent most days with friends she'd made at the resort. One evening, Victoria and I slipped away for a sunset swim. As we floated in the gentle waves, she smiled at me with the same warmth that had melted my heart years ago. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't invited you to that retreat?" she asked. I pulled her close, the water lapping around us. "Or if my babysitter had been available that weekend? Or if your bikini hadn't slipped?" Victoria laughed. "Such a small moment to change everything." "It wasn't the wardrobe malfunction that changed things," I said. "It was what you said afterward. You don't have to look away. You gave me permission to see you, really see you. And in doing so, you taught me to stop looking away from life." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. From a broken single father afraid to trust again, to a man surrounded by love and possibility. From the ice queen of publishing to the warm, brilliant woman in my arms, who had found the courage to let herself be seen. On the beach, Lily waved to us, her silhouette backlit by the fading light. Victoria and I waved back, then swam toward shore, toward our daughter, toward the life we'd built together, one brave moment at a time. Sometimes the most profound journeys begin with the simplest words. You don't have to look away. From pain, from possibility, from love when it appears in unexpected places. Because when you finally find the courage to truly see and be seen, that's when life's most beautiful chapter begins. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to our channel for more tales of unexpected love, second chances, and the families we create along the way. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us all that it's